Deadly combo. Black Prophet. Charlie Black AR the Prophet.
AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. Hold up, I don't think they heard me. I said, AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. Hey yo, turn me up a little. We good. AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long overdue, I know the streets been waiting. Which takes a lot of patience, cause you never rush straight. This one's for the record, but going down history in the making. AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long overdue, I know the streets been waiting. Which takes a lot of patience, cause you never rush straight. This one's for the record, but going down history in the making. First it was Elijah Muhammad, now we the honorable Black Prophet. We been in our bag and out of our feelings, securing all the profit. Ain't going outside, don't know what you hearing, so miss me with that gossip. Saying sucker free from mob shit, let someone get out of pocket. Whoa, we come from different walks of life, but relate to the same cause. Silent live a fight, laid up behind them hospital walls. They focus like a base, but like syringes sharper than a knife. Take a cookie from the jar, grind it, wrap it in the raw. Bobby T would stay loyal, no damn miss a prop. Shots to my producers, King Jones and Sahab. AR with the alley-oop, I threw him up a lot. Far from a corny nigga, I'm the hottest shot of cop. I had to boss up for a check, move my fam up out the jets. Just to keep playing.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Jennifer and
Mia.
we're here with you on this beautiful rainy Monday on August the 24th. And we're going to talk to you today about preventative care. So often we're always talking about, what you can do on the after effect, as a retroactive therapy, but we want to talk about what we can do, to prevent ourselves from being sick or going to hospital as much and keeping ourselves in the best possible condition that we can possibly be in. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're glad you're here tuning in with us.
Yes, and it's several different ways of preventative care. There's several different methods, and all of them don't necessarily use medications in Western medicine. All of them don't necessarily use alternative medicine over herbal teas and things like that. So we kind of want to give you guys a um, several methods to incorporate, and for some, you may need to incorporate both. Some may need all medication, some may need all alternative, but we want to talk about all of it to enlighten you guys on what kind of options you have for preventative care. So I know um, a lot of people with sickle cell get frequent blood transfusions or apheresis, which is the same as blood exchanges and things like that to prevent a crisis, so to speak, or prevent hospitalization, so to speak. It's like a maintenance thing. Is that right?
Yeah, like a little tune up for your car.
Right. So, and it's going to be different for everybody because some people with sickle cell may get transfusions often, whereas people with SC, well, in my case, I don't get blood transfusions. I never have. But that doesn't mean that if it's for you, then by all means do it. But I think that's really beneficial for those that need it. And that's why it's so crucial that we ask people for blood. You see a lot of blood drives going on, American Red Cross, Lifestyle, because people like people with sickle cell and probably lots of other chronic diseases
Yeah.
need the blood to maintain their normal lives and even prevent worse things from happening. You want to expand on that, Jennifer?
Yeah, so we want to talk about the things that we do personally, because me and I have different regimens. Some of the things that we do are the same, and some of the things that we do are different because, like we have said before, sickle cell is a very individualized disease. So even though I may know other people who have SS like me, it may not be affecting them the same way that it affects me. So for people who are on Facebook Watch, we would love to hear, what you guys do. So if you want to type in the comments, I am monitoring those because we would like to just hear a well-rounded approach to what other people do and bring their experiences on. Um, 'Cause as Mia mentioned, apheresis and blood transfusions, that's something that a lot of people do for preventative care. That's something that I used to do. I used to do blood exchanges like every 3 months. Not something that I do any longer. But I found that I felt good results from that. But other people, have their personal opinions or their religious beliefs about receiving blood products. So that's not something for everyone. So again, as a disclaimer, these are just the things that we do, and we just wanted to share that with everyone else because there may be some things that we do that are alternative medicine type things that people have never heard of that can be beneficial to you.
Right. So I actually tried out this hydration therapy by Miss Kathy Walker in TKH2O. And it's a mobile IV therapy. So that was my first time experiencing something like that. Normally, of course, when I'm in crisis, I go to acute care here. They keep me for 8 hours. They give me meds, they give me fluids. Sometimes I feel like I just can't drink enough water, and I can feel when the pain is from dehydration. So it sometimes it's helpful if I go to Grady and say, "Hey, I just want fluids with no meds," but I kind of get the eye because it's like, okay, so what you here for? You can drink water at home, but
Yeah,
like
but
I said,
you can. My doctor does that though. Like if, well, not anymore because I have the pulmonary hypertension thing going on. But if I felt like I just needed fluids, that was never a problem for me to just call and say, "Hey, can I, come and get fluids?" And then take my own pain meds instead of taking IV pain meds. Like that was never a problem. Because like you said, sometimes you just feel really dehydrated, and it's like I'm drinking so much water, but it's just not getting to where it needs to get as fast as it needs to get there.
that
So that mobile hydration, that's that's like a godsend
it
for
is.
somebody who just wants to not have to leave the house, especially with COVID and stuff going on.
And that
You
was my
have
that was my main, well, one of my main reasons for reaching out to her is because I really did not want to go to the hospital, to Grady, and because of COVID.
yeah.
Nobody really wants to go. And I found it helpful because she was only here for an hour versus the 8 hours of going to acute care. So it was also a time saver. So companies like that is really beneficial for hydration therapy and IV therapy. And once you learn how to use it, like she advised that if you are in the beginning stages of pain, it's good to go ahead and call her then versus wait until you're in the middle. Or if you know you need some type of extra hydration every 3 4 months or whatever it is, then she could be just as handy for that as well. And she also goes out to people who have hangovers and athletes and all this other stuff. So I found that the mobile IV therapy was very useful. I can't talk today.
We know what you mean.
Thank you. But yes, that's just another preventative technique that I've experienced myself, that was just really on point for me.
So since we're talking about kind of like alternative type um preventative care, I recently well, a few months ago, I had gone to a chiropractor because I had like an accident or whatever. But um, I found that the therapy that I was getting at the chiropractor was helping with my sickle cell pain. Like getting those regular adjustments, going to see him twice a week. It was like doing numbers for the back pain that I experienced. Not just him adjusting me, but he had like a rolling table where he would put heat, like moist, or I hate that word, y'all. Um, he would put wet heat on you, like just for like 15, 20 minutes and put you on the table and do like the adjustment. Like that was, I was walking out of there like feeling like a new woman. Like it just felt so good. And while I was seeing him, my back pain was limited. So, on top of the sickle cell pain, the pain from having had an accident, like he was awesome. The only downside of that was that he didn't take insurance, but he was reasonably priced where it was something that I could have, worked in my budget.
That's good. And I think for any type of preventative care, it's going to depend on the finances, the
Yeah, definitely.
individuality, and the determination of the person. Um, and me and you, we've discussed this on the show before, how people are so, well, Dr. Sebi cured sickle cell, and if you just eat this, that, and the other. And it's like we can't go too far off the grid, but some of that stuff does work. Of course,
Some of it does work in a way.
eating healthy is basic
Right,
anyway
exactly.
for us to know. So
It
it's
kind of drives me a little bit crazy. Like when people first discover Dr. Sebi, like Dr. Sebi is not something that we just ran across. So this is someone who we've known about for a long time. So when people like just happen upon, his diet and his herbs and all the things that he has, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. Like 100% effective for people. But like, I get all these phone calls like, "Have you ever heard about Dr. Sebi? He cured sickle cell," and I'm like, "Thank you." Like you don't want to say anything rude, but at the same time, like you have to really research everything that you do because, like we've said before, what works for one person doesn't work for everybody, and people really don't understand how individualized this disease is.
and
Just
just
like hydroxyurea has been used for over 30 years as a preventative cure, not cure, but a preventative method of medication for sickle cell because it's supposed to help build your fetal blood. But like if you have SC like your hemoglobin normally runs higher. Like not everybody, but just in general,
Mhm.
that may not be the best thing for you. And I think sometimes doctors are like, okay, you have sickle cell, take hydroxyurea. Like no matter what type of sickle cell you've had.
Mhm.
And me as a patient, I don't think that I should be like, okay, well, doctor, I have such and such sickle cell. Have there been any studies about using this medication for this type of sickle cell? Because a lot of the studies that are done for on people who have SS. So
Right.
a lot of the information that's coming out doesn't, not that it doesn't help you with SC. Like I don't want people to think that I'm even putting down hydroxyurea because I do take that. But I just want people to know, like, to always research everything about it.
Right. And that was actually my experience. My doctor tried to put me on hydroxyurea. And I felt like he was only putting me on that because I was a sickle cell patient and not
Right.
really looking at
Like
what
your
type.
numbers and your
Yeah.
lab work.
So
And
we actually went back and forth about my decision not to take it. You really have to have awareness of your disease and your body to be able to confront your doctor about that. And I suggest everybody knows that. But there
right.
was some backlash with me saying I don't want to take that. I
Because
don't.
then it's like you're not being compliant, but it's not that you're not being compliant, it's that you're being an educated patient. And I think sometimes you get a bad rap when you educate yourself about your disease and you have like, all these questions and pushback to the doctors sometimes, or, you come to your doctor and you say, hey, I looked into, you know, massage therapy, and I found that, they have such and such type of mas- massage therapy for this, that, and the other, and they kind of poo poo that because that's not something that they, um, that, y'all, that's my cat. Um,
They're even knowledgeable about a lot of the times. Um, they, I don't think doctors are really educated on alternative medicine.
yeah,
They're educated on what's going to work
what's
now.
in the textbook or what's in the
Yeah,
clinical
and
trials.
exactly, and that it doesn't work for everybody, and it does have long-term effects. And just like you need to research Dr. Sebi, you need to research all these other medications that your doctor is throwing at you too. Not
Yeah,
to say not to take it, but just
to be
make
educated
well
about what you're
educated.
putting in your body.
Exactly, regardless of what it is, regardless if it's this salad with all this stuff on it, or if it's the hydroxyurea or Endari or whatever else, Adactio, the rest, crystalinthamab. Did I say it right that time?
Yeah,
Okay.
you did good.
Regardless of what it is, you have to do the research and have a lot of body awareness to know what works for you and what doesn't. Also, preventative care will change as you get older.
Yeah,
I wasn't as sick as a kid as I was as an adult. Having SC, it didn't affect me when I was a kid. Of course, I had the issues with jumping into a cold pool and getting sick, or climbing Stone Mountain. But once I got older and started to talk to other people with sickle cell, I realized I wasn't as sick as those other kids. But having SC as an adult, I have more chronic pain and more other issues like the joints, the eyes, and everything else.
yeah,
And because, like you said, there's not much research to help people with SC specifically. That's why I feel like I'm so gun ho on, let me do this yoga. If I can get this acupuncture, I will. If I can
yeah,
get massage therapy, I will. Because I feel like nobody really has my back. They're going for the people in their eyes is the most severe, um, or the worst
yeah.
cases.
And you know how I feel about that.
I know it, but I want to reiterate it like
Right. Put
this.
it put it in the quotes.
Yes, yes. So that's why I'm so interested in looking into yoga. I feel like yoga is physical therapy,
Yeah.
and it's free. You know, you go to physical therapy, they don't charge you insurance, and you might have to pay a copay and this, that, and the other. With yoga, you can pull up some YouTube things, and guess what? Ain't nobody gonna see you. If you're not doing those moves right, if you looking funny, ain't nobody gonna know.
Right.
It's you.
And really, who cares?
Right. Right. You doing your physical therapy at home. You ain't got to leave the house. You ain't got to go to nobody doctor's office. Like none of that. So stuff like that can be used at home, and it's just simple as stretching, to be honest. That's all yoga. It's a lot more
And
than
breathing,
stretching.
and
Yeah.
being mindful about what your body is doing, so that you're listening to your body. You're training yourself to listen to what's going on with yourself. I
Right.
mean, I find that like I get swollen a lot of times with the pulmonary hypertension and the kidney stuff going on. But I find that, when I go try to walk a mile or 2 miles at the track, then, that fluid moves around and the swelling goes down. So instead of me having to double up on a diuretic or something like that, I can do some sort of exercise that gets my blood pumping, my body moving, and those things are healthy for you, just period.
Mhm.
So, you have to kind of take your health into your own hands a lot of times, especially when you have a chronic illness, not just sickle cell, any type of chronic illness. You need to, you know, be the steward of your own health.
Right. And that's something that we talk about a lot not just with having sickle cell, like you said, it's even more important to have body awareness having sickle cell. And like you said earlier, we're always on the retroactive side, but we really need to be on the proactive side to um, decrease our amount of times that we're hospitalized,
Right.
and decrease some of our complications. I want to be careful with saying that because um, it's not sickle cell. We gonna always have that unless you go for the cure, the stem cell transplant, the gene editing. It's gonna always be there. So we have to always be in proactive mode.
Right. Because what happens is, you know, in the medical community, they get so stuck with treating like the after effect of what happens with pain medication, opioids, all that kind of stuff is you get kind of dependent on those things to help you feel better. And, you know, what I want is for me not to get to that point in the first place.
Right. Right. And she wants to be seen. And, and as we know, with sickle cell, stress is a huge trigger.
Yeah.
Knowing all of your triggers, if possible, is great. But for a fact, stress is a trigger. Stress can mess up the regular person with no health concerns. So imagine what it does to us. And I feel like I have to stay ahead of my stress, not just because of the sickle cell, but also because of the neurological disorder I have. I feel like I have to stay ahead of it at all times so that when those stressful moments come that are unforeseen, then it won't impact me as bad. At least that's how I want it to happen in my head.
Right.
So I remember getting acupuncture when my mom was sick back in 2016. And I was stressed because I'm having to care for her, take her to appointments, talk to the doctors, and all this stuff. And I might have told this story before about when I was doing the acupuncture and he had stuck one of the needles in my ear and how it was moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was tripping at first, but when I said something to him, he was like, it's just the tension leaving your body. And I loved it because if that was stress leaving my body, I can't imagine what it does inside my body because I didn't felt it before.
Right.
So, but whenever I went to his sessions, I felt lighter. It was like a high without smoking or without taking any medications.
Yeah.
It was very relieving. And I feel like if I could get something like that regularly, it would cut back on the amount of pain I experience.
Yeah, stress is a huge trigger for me also. And when I look back, like, growing up, I didn't have like a whole bunch of really bad crises, but like fast forward to being an adult, having to take care of myself and pay bills and, keep my household running and all those kind of like those things are just the regular everyday pressures of life as Antonio put in the chat. But those, just the regular things that you have to deal with. And those things like affect me physically.
Yeah.
So it's like, dang, you can't get rid of those things because that's just what happens. Like it's just stuff that you have to deal with. Everyone has to deal with it. But it sucks that like me paying my bills could send me into a crisis. Like something so, that's like extra hyperbolic, but you know what I mean?
Right. And it's funny because lately I've been thinking about how to contain my excitement so that it doesn't mess with me, because people don't think about that. A lot of people like, oh, sickle cell is a downer, it's depressing, all this bad stuff happens. Listen, when we get excited, like I was a couple of weeks ago, I was no good.
Right.
I was just no good afterwards. And it seems like it happens in the middle of us being excited. It doesn't matter if it's a wedding, if we're going on vacation, if
it's some good news, like
right, it doesn't matter. We still have to be like, oh, that's what's up.
Oh, that's great. It's I'm really happy.
I'm so excited.
You don't seem like it. Like, no, for real. I'm really happy.
People on the inside, but I'm flipping cartwheels, but I'm super excited.
Right.
We have to just keep it chill at all times. And that's no fair to us, but that's the nature of this beast of a disease.
And Antonio is also saying how anxiety is a trigger for some people. Definitely. And we've talked about this before, and I'm like, I don't really think that anybody who has sickle cell doesn't have some sort of mental issue like anxiety or depression or PTSD, and not maybe something that's debilitating, but just something in passing, like a bad hospital stay might be a trigger for something. And so you have to deal with that too. So, something that is preventative care, seeing a counselor, seeing a therapist, having your mental state together.
And I want to give an example now that you say that. I'm going to put myself out there. When I was working, and of course, my shift, I had to be to work when it was dark outside.
Oh, ma'am. I wouldn't have made it.
Morning. But let me back up because my eyes, the sickle cell has affected my vision. I don't drive in the dark and I don't drive in the rain. That's my
Oh, yeah.
That's my preventative thing. So if it's raining or if it's at night, I'm not coming. So so this particular time I had to go to work and I had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was raining and it was dark. I took the streetway all the way to work. Almost all the way to work. And when I got off, I freaking panicked.
I do remember this.
I called Jennifer at like 5 o'clock in the morning because I knew she'd be up. And I was just really having a full-on panic attack. I don't remember if it led to a crisis, but I was always in a lot more pain than I am now. So I would not be surprised if that just made it worse. But yeah, even in those moments where a panic attack will come on, just avoid it or maybe find a different way of dealing with it if you can't avoid it. Like I said, now I don't drive at night or in the rain. Maybe if it's drizzling, I'll do okay. But if it's like heavy rain, nope, I
Yeah.
won't do it.
I mean, honestly, I think that it might be something that just works for me, but like when I'm panicky about something or I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack about something, I just really focus on my breathing, like, and just being mindful of every breath that I'm taking, like in, out, 1, 2, 3, like counting it. And that's the only way. It's like my way of controlling the situation and controlling what's going on around me, because whatever else is going on, I can't control that, but I can control myself, because I will literally feel my body start to seize up if I don't do that. So I don't know what other people do when they feel that happens, but maybe that can help somebody.
Right. Now, and I know some other preventative methods in the form of treatments is the Endari, Adakveo, and Oxbryta, which we mentioned before, which are newer treatments for sickle cell that can decrease crisis as well.
No, that's what it's supposed to do.
That's what it's supposed to do. is Are you still weighing the options with that, or
So no, I am on the Adakveo. This my last it was like 2 weeks ago was my third month, my third infusion. So it's an infusion, every month. And I was talking to my doctor about it, and she's like, I'm talking to other doctors who have just started using it, but pretty much everyone who she's talking to, they pretty much started when I started too. So we don't really have I don't have anyone who I can call and say, hey, I know you've been taking this for a year, because it's super new, So I can't call anyone who's been taking it for longer than that and ask them how they are, down the line.
Mhm.
So I just have to kind of monitor myself and see what I'm seeing, if I'm seeing a difference. And to be honest, I am seeing a difference in the type of crises that I'm having, but it's
Like,
not like a good difference. It's like
oh gosh,
super intense crises that I'm having, but
did it just freeze up for real?
it's they pop up in more random times, like more times where I'm like, well, why am I having one now? Like before, it's like, okay, well, I know this probably was the trigger. So now trying to figure out what the trigger was is a little bit more difficult. So, a couple more months down the road and keeping a journal of what's going on, we'll try to see, you know, how it's working. And hopefully there'll be some other people who are using it who I can kind of talk to and reach out to and see, how it is for them. So, also, in preventative care, um, we can talk about the clinical trials and different things that people are doing. I know NIH sometimes sends out surveys, and there's another company, I think Walter Fisher is the name. They send out surveys. A lot of times they're paid surveys about different things that they're doing with sickle cell. So even if that's not something that is like like chiropractor, acupuncture, something that you can physically do, it's a way to be involved in the development of other preventative care that can be helpful for others now and down the line. So, it'll be something to check on a regular basis if it's something that you're interested in doing. Is it clinicaltrials.gov? That's someplace that you can go and look to see what types of trials are going on with sickle cell in your neighboring areas. Wherever you are, it has all of the ones that are going on in the country. So that's something that you can look out into to see if that's something that you want to be a part of. Um, and we're always talking about, people don't hear us, the pharmaceutical companies don't care about what we're doing, or, our life and our quality of care. But we can't complain if we don't participate in the development of new drugs, new trials, and all that kind of stuff. So, clinicaltrials.gov, if you are looking to be involved in any of the clinical trials and the development of um, new things for sickle cell. You, I think you muted. So if you're talking, you have to unmute yourself. Um, so do you have anything to add about the trials, the clinical trials, and being involved in any of those things, Mia?
Yeah, so the clinical trials are really crucial for the future of the future generation of people with sickle cell. Um, it could be helpful now for those who are interested in it, but it's I don't know what to call it. It's sketchy, to be honest. It's scary, but some
It's
people
a little scary, but we're always saying that, people don't talk about sickle cell, and we can't complain, if we don't want to be a part of it.
right. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm guilty of doing the clinical trials that are not invasive. There was one that we did at NIH with the leg ulcer study.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have leg ulcers, you could do that one. Um, and
And
I
there was one not too long ago. Sorry to cut you off, but there was one not too long ago for, I think you had to be um like up to 18, and it was like yoga.
oh
Um
yeah, I saw
so
that.
it's all sorts of things. It's not necessarily you have to take medication. Because I know how we feel as a community about taking drugs that are not yet, released by the FDA and all that kind of stuff like that. So there's so many other things besides just, oh, it's a clinical trial where you got to take medication. There's so many things, and we have to be seated at the table,
Right.
in order for us to be counted. And that's like one of our biggest complaints as a community, that
Yeah.
people don't care about our community. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I when I was researching some more information on this, I did see where there was a medical marijuana study that
oh,
was done on sickle cell patients. I'm gonna have to share that link because it was interesting, and it kind of said, well, it didn't kind of, but it did say what I pretty much knew that it's helpful. It talked about some of the patients that they studied who used medical marijuana versus regular marijuana,
street
recreational.
marijuana.
Right. Right. But and it talked about, the comfortability of getting medical marijuana versus getting recreational marijuana. So that's another alternative or another preventative method. Honestly, if you don't think it helps for pain, it's gonna help for stress.
Right.
So it's a win-win.
And if you have nausea, or you have trouble eating, like, it helps on many levels for many
So,
different things.
right. So that can be seen as a preventative method as well. And even when we went to San Diego last year for the Cayenne Wellness Conference, they covered a lot of alternative and preventative methods. One being massage therapy. I shared that link of the workshop that we did last year of massage therapy, the different type of massages. There's also music therapy. I'm always listening to music. I listen to more music than I watch TV. That's all I do, literally, is listen to music while I'm reading, working on something. And even when I'm sleeping, there's tons of like meditation videos on YouTube with different frequency sounds. Just whatever you want. If you having pain, it's a video for that. If you're having insomnia, anxiety, overthinking, it's a video for all of that. And I feel like maybe that's helping in my sleep without me being actually conscious, helping my subconscious and tapping into healing areas that I can't see or not actually mindful or conscious of. So I feel it helps. It helps if you put belief in it. So
I was about to say, if you believe in it, it works.
it works. Right. Right. That's how I feel. If you don't believe it don't work, it's not gonna work. So
And you said music therapy. Like, I know that sometimes, like, when I'm in a crisis, like super late at night, and I'm pacing in the house, I'll just listen to some music in my ears, like turn it up really, really loud, just as a distraction technique for myself. Puzzles. I mean, like, just random stuff can be preventative care for everybody. Whatever works for you, whatever is a distraction technique, or, something that can relax you, something that can help you unwind, you know, and that's not unhealthy. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, somebody might be like, oh yeah, I drink 5 bottles of wine. It helps me unwind. That's not good, because it dehydrates you. So, as long as it's good for you and it's good to you, you can use it as something that's preventative.
Right. And another thing that I do is the crafting. Um, so just making different designs, and designing the wine bottles and things like that, just to let my creative juices flow, or even just painting, drawing. Those are things that can be incorporated at home for free or cheap.
Yeah.
And it's helpful. It's used as not only a preventative tool, but also to manage while you're in pain, in active pain. I didn't bring my water. Tell your dad I'm okay. Okay.
So yeah, and I also wanted to mention and really talk about this. So you mentioned mental health earlier, and people really need to understand how powerful the mind is, because if we're stressing mentally, we're gonna feel it physically.
Physically,
And
absolutely.
for me, it can either lead to a pain crisis or it can lead to a migraine, which is caused by the neurological disorder I have. So, and the migraines, I guess, scare me more because it puts me at risk again for another stroke. So it's like when it happens, I get the headache, then I'm scared that I got the headache and I'm trying to like talk myself down so it doesn't get any worse. But really being mindful of the issues that's going on mentally if you can. Sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need that therapist. Sometimes we need those friends that we can talk to bring those things out. Sometimes journaling helps, but it's super helpful to um I don't want to say fix. I don't want to say that.
To help you address the issues.
Yeah, the mental issues, because whatever's going on mentally is going to manifest physically.
And I think, it's just in not just the sickle cell community, but the Black community as a whole, mental health is just such a touchy subject,
Yeah.
because for so many years, it's like, okay, go to church, pray, it's going to go away. God's going to take it away. Not to say that, you can't pray about your situations or whatever, but in addition to that, you have to do something actively to address whatever's going on.
Mhm.
For some people it gets to the point where they, just journaling or just talking to someone isn't enough. So I think a lot of times we have to remove ourselves from the situation and be humble enough to seek the help that we need. And if that help comes, in the form of medication, not being afraid to take that, because sometimes it is a chemical imbalance that needs to be corrected. And I think that is so much drama around that, and we've been told that Black people don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't take our problems outside the home. But when those problems can really affect your health and make you sick and kill you, not just if you have sickle cell, but like just compounding issues over and over and over again, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And we have to look at that and, not be afraid to address them in whatever way it is that we address them. Some people go and work out their mental stress in the gym, whatever it is, wherever you can find the help. Like, don't be ashamed or afraid to do what you got to do.
Right. And it I see a lot of conflict or back and forth with mental health in the Black community. I see the portion that's like, yes, we need to talk about it. And then sometimes I feel like that same portion of people are shunning the ones who really need it. So it's
Yeah.
like, that's why people don't speak up in the first place,
Right.
because y'all are like, oh, you
You
just
making
crazy.
me feel bad about going to therapy, or
Right.
you making me feel bad about the fact that I need medication or
Right.
whatever. Like, instead of lending your hand, and as a community, we need to support each other in whatever way it is, because we're the only ones who know what it's truly like to be
Mhm.
in the hospital as often as we are, or in the emergency room, or to be walking around in pain every day, or whatever comes with this disease, because it's so much that comes with it mentally and physically, that
Mhm.
we should be the first people in line to be like, hey, whatever you're going through, call me or talk to me or whatever, I'm here for you,
Right.
instead of judging each other.
Right. Right. And I'm going to speak on someone that passed a couple of weeks ago. I'm usually, for one, I'm usually sleep at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And if I'm up, I usually don't answer my phone or don't respond to messages, because at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that's my me time.
Right.
So this particular time, Bridget asked me, was I up and if we could talk. And I'd say, yeah, I'm up, let's talk, whatever, whatever. And we ended up talking on the phone for probably like 2 or 3 hours. And it was just nothing. We were laughing and joking. I was able to learn her and who she was. And it was just a regular conversation, but she was nervous about taking some new medicine and she didn't know how her body would react. So having that support system there, or someone to talk to maybe just talk you down, or like you said, a distraction from what's going on inside your own head, or just some relief, can be very helpful. I don't know, like answering that phone call just made me realize that I don't never know what state of mind people are in. It just reminded me of that you don't really know what state of mind people are in. And I would hate to just ignore somebody when they really need some assistance and really need someone to talk to. So just having that support system, whether it's a friend, whomever, and incorporating the medications if you need it, can be extremely helpful and prevent a lot of issues down the road. I also wanted to say that I see like some of the issues my mom has in her older age in dealing with some health issues. And my way of preventing that, because I feel like a lot of her issues may be genetic, is to get a handle on it now. Because I don't want to be 69 years old dealing with what she's dealing with and dealing with what I'm dealing with.
Right.
Not gonna do that. So
that's a little much. Let me go ahead and get this diet together.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel, because it's scary for her to go through it. So it's like, I don't want to deal with that when I get to that age. So let me work on what I need to work on now, whether it's let me figure out this stress. Let me figure out what kind of meal plan I have. I don't know how we're going to do with vegan. I'm not there. I don't know if I'll ever be there, but
I tell you right now, I'm never going to be there. Raised up as a vegetarian, I want to eat meat when I want it.
So I have my moments, I have my days, and I have my meals. However,
I mean, I'm still not a heavy beef and pork person. I pretty much only eat chicken and turkey. And, get tired of eating chicken every which way. But
and that's another thing. The nutrition, doctors aren't really educated in nutrition as well either.
Yeah.
And when I started to research and really look at how to use food as medicine, I looked up what helps with better blood flow.
Yeah, what helps with inflammation, and
what helps
what builds iron and all those types of things.
Yeah. And that's something that's, especially if you get food stamps, listen, go straight to the produce section, frozen vegetable section, rack up on all of it.
Yeah, you won't find canned vegetables in my house. Like, I don't eat canned vegetables.
Right. Too much sodium. Sodium is
and salty. No nutritional value. Like it's all gone.
Yep. No, it's thank you. So yeah, it's really about, and a lot of people, I'm gonna say a lot of people in the Black community aren't really taught the importance of nutrition.
Well, generationally, there's so much stuff that we have to unpack, like everything, food. I mean, like everything, because we were given scraps and we made the best of what we had. But now, we're in a different life now, so we can do things differently. But there's so much stuff that we have to unpack, like just to address what affects us mentally, physically, all that, spiritually, all those things we have to take it in the sickle cell community, the Black community, every community. We have to address those things, because when your spirit's off, your body's off. When your mental's off, your body's off. When your physical's off, of course your body's off, because that's your body.
Right. everything off.
So it's like a whole approach that you have to take in order to be well. And we know that there's so many things that affect sickle cell. So the things that we can control, we need to try to take better control of those things and make the most of what we have now in this world. We don't have to eat the scraps. We can eat vegetarian burgers if we want. We can eat, you know what I'm saying? We can eat better. We can eat fresh vegetables. We don't always have to eat collard greens. We can have kale. You know what I'm saying? We can do so
I'm
much
gonna put
more.
I'll put the kale in with my collard greens and just
Mustard, we can mix it up. We can have salads that don't have meat in them. Like
and not drowning in dressing.
all of that. All of that.
Yeah.
We can do so much better because we have so many more resources right now.
Agreed.
So, I want to take just a moment before we thank our sponsors, before we announce them, just to tell my mama happy birthday. It is her birthday, and it's because of her I am here. I love her, and she means the world to me, and I want the world to know that.
I love her too. She's the bomb.com. She is one of our supporters, one of our number one supporters. We got a lot of number one supporters.
Yes, we do. So we want to give a moment of shout out to her. And then we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors who have been holding us down since day one. We appreciate you. We appreciate all that you've done for us. Mr. Moore at the Apex Museum. He gave us our start and he showed us so much more. Apex Museum is currently closed right now, but it will hopefully open up when we get through this COVID stuff, and you need to go and take a look at the Apex Museum. It's an awesome place to be.
Absolutely. And we have Tanya Robinson with Kids Stop Daycare and Learning Center, who has opened back up. Of course, she's got her students there. She got her students set up so they can get the proper schoolwork they need, especially for the after school kids. So they're back up and running. We also want to thank Black Professional Network, who we just joined with in February, who's been there pretty much from the beginning too. And we have a special sponsor today, TK H2O Drip. Oh, TK H2O Drip, which was Miss Kathy Walker. Like I said, she is over the mobile hydration therapy. I can put her link in our description so you guys can reach out to her. She is not just good for sickle cell patients. I rock with her because she is a mother of a person with sickle cell who her warrior is the bomb.com as well. So yes, there we are, the TKH2O hydration therapy. She is based in Atlanta. Once you get the link, if you're interested, please hit her up and let her know that you are a sickle cell patient. She has a B12 drip. She had one for people who are having a hangover. She has one for athletes. She has an immune booster drip. She just had the works and it was amazing. I loved it. So I want to thank y'all for watching. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Anything else?
I think that's all. Follow Manifest TV on Facebook, Instagram.
And download the Status Network app on Roku or Fire Stick. It's just multiple ways to tune in every 2 weeks to what we have to offer you. And yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the show. And we will see y'all in September. Guess what September is?
Cell Awareness Month, and we have something special in plan. Oh my gosh. Take us out.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Deadly combo. Black Prophet. Charlie Black AR the Prophet.
AR, the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. Hold up, I don't think they heard me. I said, AR, the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. Hey yo, turn me up a little. We good. AR, the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long overdue, I know the streets been waiting. Which takes a lot of patience, cause you never rush straight. This one's for the record, but going down history in the making. AR, the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long overdue, I know the streets been waiting. Which takes a lot of patience, cause you never rush straight. This was for the record, but going down history in the making. First it was Elijah Muhammad, now we the honorable black